Hey ProGuides family, my name is Eric and welcome back to another ProGuides video. Today we are going to go over 10 things pros do every game. But before we get started, we want to ask our question of the day. What do you think the pro scene for Valorant is going to look like in a year? We know Riot plans to let it grow naturally for a while, but I personally hope we will get a major tournament hosted by them. Maybe like Worlds for League before next year ends. For now though, we want to give a shout out to all the tournament organizers out there who are creating tournaments and putting up money for the Valorant competitive community to grow and thrive. Okay guys, let's start with communication. I know many of you will be like, communication? What do you mean? I always talk with my teammates. But that's not exactly what I mean. Creating your strategies and sharing them with your team is really important. We can all play our own game and sometimes give info to our teammates like, I see one A short, or something like that. But how pros exchange information is different. Pro players have their own strategies for every map and team composition, and that helps their communication a lot. Telling your teammates your plan to take over A site on Bind by, for example, smoking Heaven and Truck with Brimstone and rushing through the showers, or giving your info first if you're playing Cypher. It's not only about rushing one site and planting that spike, you need to have some sort of plan, or just simply play it slow. Wait for the enemies to get greedy so that you have a numbers advantage once they're 6 feet under. There are so many options, just be sure to talk to your teammates and figure out what works best. Alright guys, now that we covered communication, let's talk about faking sites. I know it's a common strategy as well, but I need to separate this one for good reason, and that's because it's so OP and I never see people do it. I mean, maybe some of you guys do it, but I never saw anyone, especially in an unrated game, fake a site. It's not even that hard, but people are playing this game only one way. If they want to take A site on Haven, they're gonna hang around in A lobby, and when the round starts, we'll probably send 3 A long and 2 A short. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this strategy doesn't work, but you can't always execute it like this. You need to change your game plan and try to surprise your enemies. Let me give you an example again. If you want to take A site on Haven, you don't always have 5-man push immediately. You instead can use an ability or two on mid. Fire a few shots at double doors and then slowly rotate towards A site. That way, one of the enemies that was defending A Heaven or U-Haul probably rotated or was rotating to B to help out. Hopefully, you will be more or less 5 versus 1 or 2 when you start heading into the A site to plant the spike. From here, you're in a good position to win the round because retaking A on Haven is not easy at all, especially if the attackers have the spike planted and the man advantage. Another example. Using a toxic screen lineup to smoke off half of A site from A short can be pretty useful as bait. Why? Well, whenever you activate your wall as Viper, the enemies will be prepared for you to start pushing out. But since you're faking, your teammates are in a good spot to take B site. Maybe you're asking, but what if the enemies try to flank us? Well, that's even better because you'll already be watching their back, so you can call out the flank or even get the frags yourself. Okay. We've established that most people try to rush sites that they want to take, and that's not a good thing. Pros and high-ranked players usually play it slow at the beginning of the round and try to get as much information as possible about enemies and their positioning. Being patient and taking your time will not only grant you more options for your strategy, it will also hopefully make your opponents greedy for information on you and your teammates. If you play it well and kill the guy that peeked without thinking or got a little too eager to flank, you will have a huge advantage at the beginning of the round. When you play unrated, let's say Haven, and you are playing slowly in A lobby with your team, in most cases, one enemy will peek A short, but he won't have enough time to react if 3 or 4 of you start shooting at them. Hopefully that'll leave you with an easy A plant and ideally an easy round. Yeah, that's right. Walls can be pretty useful for a lot of things. Not only for hiding from things, like from SOVA's arrows or waiting for the enemies. Shooting through a wall strategically can more often than not net you a free kill. For example, you are hiding at A Heaven on Bind, you hear the enemies are planting the spike behind the box. Don't wait for them to plant and change their position. You should instantly start spraying through the box and try taking him down. A lot of players are not utilizing the advantages that walls bring, so try to think more about how you can position yourself better using walls not only as cover, but as an offensive option. Alright guys, now let's talk about specific agents and how pro players utilize them. First of all, we're going to talk about Omen and how aggressively awesome he can actually be. I know that many of you play Omen because he's fun to play, but how good are you with his abilities exactly? I've played many Valorant games, but I rarely see someone use 2 smokes and teleport from one to another with Omen to surprise the enemy. This is exactly what pro players abuse, especially now in unrated games. Of course, you can't always use this trick because it gets obvious, but sometimes it can be really helpful and you can easily secure a kill or two to help win the round. Maybe you want to push C side on Haven. If that's so, you should really try doing this because enemies, probably 1 or 2, will be focused on shooting at your teammates that are C long and won't expect you to have teleported behind them on C site. It's not hard to do. You just need some practice, maybe in the custom game, and you're good to go. Also, since we're talking about Omen, don't forget to fake TP and bind with Shrouded Step using the teleporters. If you want to get better at messing with your enemy's head, be sure to check out ProGuides.com where we have coaches standing by to show you the ins and outs of mind games. If you prefer a more social environment, we got you covered with our Valorant Discord server. All links are in the description down below, so be sure to check them out after the video. Okay guys, now that we know some tricks that pro players use with Omen, surely you want to see how they use Cypher. We all know the basics. Trapwire at the entrance of the site, cage below it, maybe place the camera closer to the enemy's side of the map to look for information, but that's about it. But did you ever try placing your trapwire one behind another? Now you may be wondering, why would I do that? Well, it can be really helpful actually, since players already expect traps in the most common places. They can destroy them from a distance by just shooting at these spots. The enemies might even try to jump over the trapwire if it's placed too low, but the enemy will get caught in the second trapwire. And that's the whole point of this trick. Now, if you follow Valorant on Twitch, you probably watched some Hiko since he's one of the best players currently in the game. He was a professional CSGO player who recently switched to playing Valorant. His gameplay is really unique, with a big brain and awesome aim since he played Counter-Strike for so long. If you watched him play Viper, you must have seen his super useful one-way smokes. If you're wondering what that is, well basically, if you use your smoke on a specific spot, like how Hiko places his Viper smoke on top of the boxes at A site on Bind, you will have a gap below the smoke that gives you vision on the enemies while they won't be able to see you. Amazing, right? Of course, enemies won't always try to push into the smoke and give you a free kill, but still really good at preventing pushes or just getting some easy tags to it. When I'm talking about one-way smokes, I'm not only thinking about Viper. Pro players use the same trick with agents like Jett, Brim, Omen, and even the Cypher and his cage. It's all doable and it's so OP. We can't do a video about pro tips and not talk about SOVA. He may seem easy to play, but he is probably more useful than you think. As we mentioned before, information is one of the most important things in Valorant, and with SOVA, you can get information on enemies easily if you know how to use your recon bolt properly. It's not only about shooting it wherever you want to push while you're attacking. There are some pretty good spots on every map where you can bounce the arrow off a wall or a box to get a recon bolt in a hard-to-reach area. Pro players like Shroud are always practicing these arrow lineups in custom games because there are many lineups that haven't even been discovered yet. Practice is key when we're talking about anything: aim, movement, and ability usage. So if you practice your arrows with SOVA, it's going to help you a lot in a real game. His second type of arrow, as we all know, is the shock bolt, for tagging enemies if they push, or maybe even taking down an enemy hiding in some corner. The shock bolt does it all. Of course, you can bounce it off walls as well, and there are some pretty good lineups that you can use just like with the recon arrow. This one may seem silly at first, but it's actually very important. Regular players, even in rated, are planting the spike at random spots on the site. But proper spike placement can be the difference between winning and losing a round. Maybe you want to plant it A site on Bind, behind the boxes, while a teammate watches from A heaven. That's a pretty good spot since your teammate will have a good view of the site, and if you hear them defuse, you or your teammate can stop the defuse by shooting through the box and killing the enemy that was defusing. One more thing that I want to cover is planting the spike correctly as Brimstone. It's insane how easily you can defend the spike if you plant the spike properly. Let's say you get the spike down at C site on Haven, and you go to C long and hide. This is actually a pretty good position to be in because you can use your incendiary from Cubby to prevent the defenders from defusing. And they're in a pretty bad situation unless they try to take you out. If you like watching pro players play Brimstone, you're definitely going to see this if they find themselves in a good spot to use this strategy. To explain things simply, a team's economy is the amount of money that all players on the team have gathered collectively in order to buy new weapons and abilities. All team members have their own pot of money, that they can use to buy anything that they might need. And how you manage your money has a significant impact on the rest of the team's purchases as well. For this reason, you'll find that pro players always want to work together to purchase and swap items. If your star player can't afford an operator but you can, just buy one for them and get them to buy a cheaper weapon like a Vandal or Phantom for you. It's just another side to the close teamwork and cooperation that's required to succeed in Valorant. Keep in mind that there's a 9,000 credit cap for each individual player, so offer to buy your teammates weapons if you're nearing that limit to help prevent wasting money. One of the biggest economic mistakes a player can make is being greedy and chasing non-important kills. For example, if the spike is about to blow up, and your teammate knows they are going to win the round but still keep chasing for kills, they're risking their gun. Pro players are always thinking about situations like this. In Twitch Rivals, there were a ton of examples of great economic decisions, including Sage resurrecting teammates at the end of the round so they could keep their gun. All right, guys, thank you for watching until the end of the video. We hope that you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for supporting our channel. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to support us, and be notified for our upcoming videos. Peace.